Hey guys, today we're going to cover session 1.2, formulas and functions, and we're going to even do a little bit of printing as well at the end. So to get started, click on H12, and in caps we're going to type in charge. We're going to calculate the charge, all caps. Press enter. Now we're going to put in our first formula. So whenever we're writing a formula, you have to press equal first, and then we're going to get this cell. We're going to use this as a cell reference. And we're going to times this by this cell reference. And cell references are nice because if you ever change this number, the change would be affected here. So that's just why we use cell references in formulas. In most formulas, you should probably use a cell reference just in case those numbers change. So let's do the exact same thing. And times this one. So we're going to times the price by the quantity, and that will give us our charge, how much we have to charge the person. Okay, you should get that. Now, I'm going to, you can copy this formula by clicking this fill handle and dragging down if you're more familiar with Excel. But if you're new to it, I'll show you a bunch of different ways you can do that. So one way is to copy. So right click and then copy, and then highlight these cells, and right click again and press formulas, paste the formulas, and it pasted those exact same formulas. Now this one, make sure the formatting is the same. I should have done that with, make sure it's $ and 2 decimal places, so that's exactly what we want. And the formatting is exactly the same. And there we go. So in this cell, G18, subtotal, then tab over. Now a quick way to get the total for these cells here is just to take your mouse, and you don't even have to press equal, just click AutoSum and it automatically adds up this range. So this is what we call a function. If I did this plus this plus this plus this is a formula, but this sum function makes the formula a lot easier. Okay, and then we just press enter. So there's a lot of functions you're gonna see in Excel that kind of save you time like that, instead of going H13 plus H14 plus H15. Instead you just equal sum, brackets, and give us the range you want.
So now we're going to add the sales tax and a handling fee to this customer order. So in order to do that, we're going to go to G11. So in the cell G11, we're going to type sales tax. So just type in sales tax in G11, and then press the tab key to get to H11 and type in 5%, and use the symbol percent. Don't type in 5% as a word. And Excel will know that that's 0.05. So if you put it into a formula, it'll actually understand. You don't have to convert it to a decimal. So now the first thing we're going to do is go to G19. So make sure you're in G19, just under subtotal, and type in tax. And then we're going to tab over and put in our formula, which would be the subtotal times the 5%, or the 5% times the subtotal. And then you would get your tax, your 5% tax, so 5% of the 114. And yep, so remember to put your equal sign, H18 times H11, and you get $5.72. Now go down to the next line, G20, and we're going to type in a handling, and we're just going to make this number up. This isn't a formula, so we're going to type in $15.30 and then press enter. And my formatting was off, so I made it the accounting format, and then it made it 2 decimals as well. So that's what we want. Just make sure that your numbers are the proper format. And we've just calculated the grand, and now we're going to calculate the grand total in G21, and then tab over. So the problem with pressing AutoSum, in my example it only got 2, but it would either get all of them, or mine just got 2 for some reason. So you don't want to use AutoSum. Instead, just use equal sum, open the bracket, and then we're going to select the range. Okay, so just be careful with that. We don't want everything. That's the problem with just pressing AutoSum. You can just type in the function, the sum function, okay, instead of doing AutoSum in this example, and your total is $135.41.
Now yours might be different than mine, and I did that on purpose, I promise. Look what happens. I'll change it back to what it's actually supposed to be. The reason why this might be different than yours is because you probably had $24.95. Now this is a great thing about the formulas, is that if we mess up one of the numbers or we need to change one of the numbers, we can go back and do that. So I'm going to change this back to 2495 and watch what happens to the total. See, gives us the right number now. And we didn't have to change all the rest of the numbers following.
And now we're going to use my favorite method in Excel to move things around, the drag and drop. So what we did there was highlight this range from G18 to H21, and then once you've highlighted it, you can kind of move your cursor either the top or bottom of the box until it turns into an anchor, and then just drag down and drop it. That's the drag and drop method.
Now if you prefer cut and paste, you can do that as well. So I'm going to show you how to do the exact same thing as the drag and drop, but we're going to cut and paste instead. So I want you to go up to A3, click on the A3 cell. Now there's a neat little trick. Press Control, Shift, and then the N button. So Control, Shift, N, and it highlights all of, from A3, all of the information. Now we're going to right click, cut. So we're going to cut this information, and you could drag it too if you want to, but this is just giving you two options here. So we cut that information, and you want to put it in A9. So we're going to click on A9, and so we cut it and paste. So we just moved it to A9. Okay, you could have dragged down to A9 if you prefer. So that's up to you, whatever you prefer. All right, so in A3, so we made room. Now we can type in further information to complete this summary. So this customer order, sorry. So in A3, type order ID. So in A3, type order ID. And press tab, and then we're going to give it a number. 1, 2, 3. And in the next cell, sorry, in the next line, type delivery, or sorry, shipping date. Just tab over, make up a date. Press enter, and then delivery. What type of delivery? Say overnight. On items order. Now, when we tab over, we're going to do another function called the count function. The count function, not to be confused with the sum function, will count numbers, so it'll count the actual entries and not the numbers. See how we can, we'll use the range in the quantities, because count will only count numbers. If you want to count other things like text, you have to use count A. But when we use the count function, we're going to count how many entries are in here. Notice how it's not going to add the total here. It's just going to tell me how many orders are placed. So we're going to count, and it should say 5, and that's our count function. Now we can keep adding them, and this number would change, which is nice about the count function. And we're going to type in total charge in this cell. Now we're going to use our first cell reference. So a cell reference is kind of like a formula, but it just refers to this cell right here. So when we type in this cell, this is H28. H28, watch what happens. So we're going to use that as a cell reference. And we use the cell reference because if that number changes, so does this one. Okay, so the person can easily find their charge. Their total charge is 135. It refers to this cell. Now if I was to change this one again, this would be altered, and so would this one. All right, so let's pretend that we're missing a book order. So head down to row 21 and click on the row so the whole row is highlighted. And what I like to do is go to Insert, but you can also go to the Insert button here in the Cells group and then Insert Sheet Rows. Okay, there, or just Insert, right? So we have a row in 21 that wasn't there before, and we're going to type in the new information now. And used, and it's going to be a hardcover. Notice how Excel will pick up the word if it matches another word it's seen before, so we're just going to tab over, save some time. life of Louis Armstrong. And we're gonna last name teach out. First name Terry. Tab over, we're gonna put in the price of that book, which is $11.95. And they've ordered 2. All right, so now we have to put in our formula again. If you remember from last time, we can do this. So we're gonna copy this formula, put it in here, and then the paste option has a few options. Make sure that you click on formulas. Okay, so copy the formula and not the number. Sometimes you can copy and paste and it'll just copy this number. And this would have changed as well. So now our new total is 160.57. See if we change one thing. That's why when we use cell references instead of the actual number, it's better when we're doing formulas. So we just inserted a row. Now we're actually gonna delete one. So don't confuse it with clearing contents. We're gonna delete this whole row. So click on row 23, and then you could clear contents and the row would stay, but we're gonna delete that whole row, and that's how you do it. Or you could have clicked delete up here. Okay, but I like to right click and press delete instead. All right, so now we're gonna actually shift things to the right and without affecting the whole sheet. So if we moved column A, we could do that, or insert a column here, but we just wanna move this information here and make some room for a new entry. So we're gonna highlight column A17 to A28 and move everything from here, so A28, over to the right. Now, how do you do that? You go to insert, so now that we have this highlighted, go to insert, insert cells. Okay, and the first option is shift cells to the right. So don't confuse this with indenting. Indenting would move things to the right within the cell, and shift cells right would be shifting to a new column. Okay, so we move this information and everything changes. So now we are going to have to fix our column widths again, but that's okay. So we'll just, this will be just a little bit of a review from tutorial 1.1. So we're going to highlight both C and D. So click column C, press Control, click column D, so we highlight them both at the same time. Because we moved everything to the right, we don't need them that big. Now you can do the drag method for one of them and they both, oh look, I got it the first time. Yay! All right, they're both 12 in width. Got it the first try, first time ever. And this is going to be, we're gonna move this, so go to column width, and they're the titles, so we need the big space in there, just like last time. And then for authors, we're just gonna double click and use the auto fit. So we're gonna put our mouse in between F and G. If I say that really fast, it sounds like I'm swearing. F and G, and double click. All right, so now that has enough room to fit the biggest name. All right, now this looks a little sloppy, so we're going to fix this up. The rows are a little high, so we're going to click on the first row. We have to highlight the rows through to 23. So click on this first one, click and hold Shift, and then click 23, and look, it highlights everything in between. And then we're just gonna auto fit the row height. So you could double click in between the rows, or you could go here and auto fit row height. See, that looks a lot nicer than what we had. All right, here's one of my favorite tools in Excel, and that is using the flash fill. So when Excel recognizes a pattern, it'll flash fill the values for you and save you a lot of time. So to get the book ID is this number, this right here. Okay, this number here, and dash, and then we're gonna give the ID by the category. So this 5 digits here and the category would give the book ID. So let's start typing that in, see if Excel recognizes it with the flash fill. moment of truth. We're going to type in new. And it actually didn't recognize that. So let's try it a third time. If it didn't work, 0. Oh, now it did. See, when we started typing the third value, then it kind of got the pattern what you were doing. So sometimes it'll recognize that on the second try. Sometimes it'll recognize it on the third. Sorry, once it realizes it's a pattern, and then I'll just press enter and save myself some time. Okay, so if I had a longer list, that would save a lot of time. A flash filled for us. All right, now we're going to make everything look really nice. So grab this grab and highlight this range, A3 to B7. Once you've got that highlighted, we're going to go to the border options here, border drop-down menu, and click all borders. That was all borders. And then we're going to do the same thing with these ranges here. So these non-adjacent ranges that aren't touching, by highlighting that range here, press and hold Control so you can highlight this range here, and this too, and as well as this one. Okay, so they're separate, and I'm going to use all borders again. Okay, so it should look like that if you've done it correctly. And then we're going to change this to, we're going to make this title huge so it stands out, looks nice. So 28 font. Okay, 28 size font. All right, and now remember to save your workbook because we're going to go into our printing. Now, the problem with this is that before we print, take a look what that looks like. That's how it would print. So we want it all to be on one page. That's the goal here. So, and if you could also look at it, that was our page layout view. So look at the bottom here. We're in normal view. That's our normal view. This is page layout. It'll tell you where the page cuts off. And this is our page break view. So this is really easy. We'll get into this when we get to chapter 2, page break view. But let's go back to normal. See if we can fix a few things here. So go to the page layout tab at the top. And within the page setup group, we're going to go to the orientation icon and then go to landscape. Now check it. This dotted line here will tell you where it cuts off, but if you want to see that more dramatically, you can see exactly where it would cut off in the page. So we're getting close, but not quite there. So we need to change something. So we're going to go to, please go to inside the page layout tab in the scale to fit group, one page, and now look what we have. All right, so everything fits nicely on one page. It made things a little bit smaller, but it's okay. It had to squeeze a little bit to get everything in there. Now, before we're done, you have to go to File and make sure that the default setting would only print one sheet, but because we have a documentation sheet, we have multiple sheets, we're actually going to print the entire workbook. So if you want to print multiple worksheets in that workbook, you have to press print entire workbook because the default setting would just print this worksheet. Okay, so make sure that you set print workbook if you want to print off 2 pages. So it print page number 1, which is the documentation sheet and the actual customer order. One last thing, you could also, let's say you wanted to have a sheet where you displayed the values, but you also want to have a different one where you print off the what formulas you use just for checking. You can press Control and do the wavy line beside the number 1 key. So Control and wavy line, and look what happens. All the formulas we typed in are shown. So you can see the count function and these formulas here. And this sum function, sum function. All right, so if you wanted to check in on someone's use of formulas, you could just press Control and then the wavy line beside the 1, and you would get all of their formulas that they performed. Now, if you wanted to set this up so that you could, let's put this back, you could save this as a template and use it for another order. You could delete clear contents without deleting. Okay, so B3 to B5 to get this ready for a real customer order without all the information. So B10 to B16. So all the personal information is gone, but we have we still keep our customer order sheet. And then A19 as well. To H23. All of that, we're going to clear content. See the difference? H19, or sorry, H to H23. And we're just going to clear content. So our table's there. Everything we need is in there. And all the formulas we need are in there. But we're clearing this out for new information. All right, so obviously the only charge right now is the handling charge, but once we start adding things to that, now we have a customer order with no information in it, so we could start new. And that is it.